Hi, this is Andrew Abrams with Recur360. And in this demo, I'm going to go over how to set up a recurring payment. In QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online, you can set up recurring invoices and recurring sales receipts. You can memorize journal entries and other transactions. But what you can't set up is a recurring payment. The purpose of a recurring payment is if a customer owes you money. Let's say John Melton here, who owes us $750, can't pay it all at once, and John wants to set up a payment plan. Well, if you want to set up a recurring payment and apply it to an existing invoice, you can't memorize the payments in either of the systems. Now, in QuickBooks Desktop, in the recurring payments module, you can just set up a $250 payment to recur every month, but it doesn't know what it's going to apply to. And in QuickBooks Online, it has to be a sales receipt with a payment or an invoice without a payment. So you don't even have that capability. But Recur360 allows you to take an open invoice and set up a payment schedule for it. In order to do that, John Melton would first have to give us payment information. So he can either give us a credit card to put on file or ACH information. And then we have to enter that and save it to his account. Then once that's done, we can go into our recurring payments module and we can add a new recurring payment. We can choose John Melton. And then we can choose which invoices of his are open. So we can go ahead and take this one, for instance, which actually has an open balance of $450. And let's say he wants to pay us weekly, every week on a Monday. And we want that to start on November 1st. And we want it to end when the invoice is fully paid. So after November 1st, the next Monday that happens to happen is November 6th. So this would actually be the first day that this payment plan will go into effect. And we want to choose to automatically charge the customer's credit card or ACH information and automatically send them payment emails. Now, his payment type that was entered was a Visa, and the amount we want to set is $250. And we'll say this is payment against invoice 1007. And we'll just call it an installment. And go ahead and save this. So now under our recurring payments module, starting on the Monday every week until it's paid off, we're going to charge $250. And then the next Monday in the queue is November 6th. So come November 6th, that first payment will go through. Now, to give an example of that, I'm going to go ahead and edit this, and I'm going to backdate this a few weeks so we can run a couple payments against it. So I'm going to backdate it to October 9th, okay? And then I'm going to tell it to push the transaction to run today. So I'm going to go ahead and click Submit. And now I'm going to say, let's go ahead and run this transaction now. So the purposes of this demo, I backdated it so that we had a few Mondays in the queue. And what's going to happen is it's going to generate enough payments to pay off that invoice. It's going to email the customer a record of those payments, and it's going to automatically apply them in QuickBooks Online. So if I go ahead and go into my email and go ahead and do a refresh, as soon as those transactions are done processing, we're going to see them pop in here. And then we'll also see them post into QuickBooks Online. Let me go ahead and log into there. So I'm in my developer sandbox here. So let me just get into our data file. So now if I go to the customer of John Melton, we will see we had this invoice for $750. It previously had a payment against it of $300, and therefore there was a balance due of $450. So Recur360 processed 2 payments to pay down that invoice. The first payment was for $250, and in the memo field, we referenced our Recur360 ID and then the payment and authorization code. And then that second payment was for $200. If we go back and look at Recur360 and we pull up our customer center and we go into Melton, we'll see that that invoice for $750 has 0 balance due. And if we go into the transaction ID, we'll see that as well. Along with, had any emails been generated, if we had an email on file, a record of all the invoices sent out. Now, if we go into our reporting module, we'll see in our payment history that those 2 payments were processed against that invoice. And if we go into our email history, we'll see that 2 emails went out on each of those invoices. And if I go into my email settings, we'll see the record of that payment, the $250 one and the $200 one. So thanks to Recur360's recurring payments module, you can set up payment plans with your customers to allow them to pay down existing invoices by entering in their payment information and scheduling a recurring payment. Now, another way of doing it is allowing the open invoice to get automatically emailed out if they owe you money, and allow the customer to pay on their own. So let's say Amy's Bird Sanctuary owes us money. I can go ahead and click on that invoice, and I can go ahead and schedule it. And I can say, let's schedule it for later. And I can have it go out on a specific date or every X days. So let's say I want it to go out every 15 days until the invoice is paid, starting 1 day after the due date. So if Amy's Bird Sanctuary had net terms of 15, then what we're saying is, starting day 16, we want to send out a reminder every 15 days to collect payment. And she could choose to pay it in whole to get it paid off, or pay it in increments. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule this. And now if I go to my customer center and I go to Amy's Bird Sanctuary and I pull up that transaction, what we'll see is we've got pending invoice reminder emails set to go every 15 days until the invoice is paid. So that's a feature that neither QuickBooks Desktop or Online have, that's called scheduled collection notices. So thank you for your time today. On my next demo, I will cover batch emailing of invoices created in QuickBooks Desktop or Online via Recur360.